Hey everybody, welcome to Simply Put Radio. We are on our 8th episode, and this is a special. This is a special episode because I got my brother in the house, Bills. And so before we get into everything that we're going to get into today, I know that a lot of people have been, I wouldn't say anticipating because we haven't told everybody that this episode is coming out, but this is an episode that I know a lot of people are going to want to hear because we're going to be talking about how to navigate your way through this music industry. My brother is in the music industry. He's been in the industry for a long time. I'm going to let him get into more about what he does. But he's gonna drop some jewels and some knowledge and some wisdom for all of y'all that are trying to make it in this industry. So before we get into everything, please be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels at Simply Put Radio, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And let us know what you think about the show. Let us know some ideas that you may have, some other shows that you want us to do. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it. But let me introduce my co-host. Again. Again and again and again. So I got Leticia McKinney in the house as well.
Hello.
So we have some questions. So I know about my brother.
Do you?
So yes, we've been friends for a long time.
We go way back.
We go way back. Yeah, and actually he's in town. So my brother's name is Bills. His name is William Dougan, but he goes by Bills, and he was in town.
Those bills.
To make them bills, yep.
Nah,
And,
man.
yeah, man. But he's out. He lives in Atlanta, and he was out here visiting because we threw a surprise birthday party, which everybody participated in here in the house. I love that, and so we put together a surprise birthday party for my mother. She turned 70, and he flew in town for that. So I'm like, hey, what you doing tonight? Come on down. We want to talk to you. We want to hear some stuff. So I'm excited to get into this interview. But I'm going to go ahead and let Leticia and McKee ask their questions first, and then I'll just chime in.
You just chime in.
I'll just chime in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and history. Lead us up to how you got into the industry. Let's start there.
Okay, so I was a rapper.
Okay.
And he's actually really good. That's the thing.
So you want to spit something for us tonight?
That's where it been. Nah.
But I think I have some stuff. I think I still have
Stop.
some
Stop
stuff.
it.
We can edit
Stop
it
it.
in.
No, we're not
we
splicing.
can't edit
No,
we're not
putting. No, we're not. No.
He was actually good. No, I'm not even joking, and I'm not just saying that because let me just say this. See, I said I was going to chime in. So I used to work in the music industry as well. So when he was a rapper, I was already in the industry when he was, starting out, and I didn't know. And one time, I remember you left a tape, or it was a cassette tape, or maybe a CD. Yeah, you left a CD in my car. I remember I dropped you off at the airport or something, and I turned on the CD. I'm like, oh, this is hot. I don't know who this is. I didn't know who it was, but I was like, oh, this is hot. And then he said something like his name, and I was like, what? It was really good. So anyway, I say all that to say that, I was a critic, and he was definitely.
We did that on purpose.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
We did it on purpose. That's how it started.
Yeah, so I was rapping in school. My cousin Dallas was managing me, and we were just. While I was rapping, I needed to learn how to record because I had no engineer, had no money. So I got a computer. My dad got me a computer and Pro Tools, and I started figuring out how to record. So then when I went back to school, I was the guy that had the Pro Tools set up.
Okay.
So then I started recording people out of the house.
Okay.
So I started recording my friends and a few people, and they started paying me to give me money. I'm like, yo, you can make money doing this. So I'm doing some low rate, probably like $15 an hour or something. Just like I'm thinking,
Right, exactly.
But I'm thinking like I'm doing it. I'm making money off this. Okay, cool. So we had a whole little setup. My boy Courtney made beats, and my boy Bam from LA. He used to come in town, and he was recording a lot and stuff. So one summer, I was recording, and I was recording everybody, and my boy Bam, he had a little money, and he started getting his stuff mixed at a major studio, which is a studio that I'm at right now.
Okay.
So he was friends with 2 Chainz. So he used to come up and mess with 2 Chainz a lot, and while we were up there, we were like, oh, it's a nice studio, can we get our stuff mixed in here? So we started bringing the stuff, and he was paying to get mixes, and they were like, who's recording this? And he was like, this kid right here. So he was like, you need to get an internship. So didn't hear anything. I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't really follow up like I should have, but my boy McLean was still coming up, and they were like, he was still dealing with 2 Chainz and stuff coming in and out. And one day there was no interns, and they were like, call that kid up and tell him to come up here. So the same day, I just hopped in my car, rode up there. I was a valet at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I was valeting at Diddy's restaurant, Justin's.
Okay.
So I hopped in the car, went up there, started interning the same day. They were like, you're on right now. I was like, I didn't know anything. I was like, yo. So they knew I knew how to record. So that first week, I'm the intern in the studio. And just a note for everybody, this doesn't happen this fast. But the engineer already knew I knew how to record somebody. He made me do an album that week. He made me do franchise. I finished the Franchise Boys album that week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Billy, okay, you're going to help hear me say Billy and Bills, because family we call him Billy.
Yeah.
So you're going to hear me intertwine the two, but he actually has credits on a few albums, which we can get into, later we can talk about, but that was the first.
Really cool.
That was the first credit. Your first week as an intern?
Yeah, it was like my first. It was during the first month. I don't know the exact time. It was like soon after I got there. I did the Franchise Boys album, and then from there, I kept interning for I was the only intern. They wouldn't hire no other interns for a while, and I was like doing all the runs, and I had to go to Justin's and valet.
Now, were you getting paid as an intern?
No, it was free, and I was sleeping there. I was going to Justin's. I was running around all night until that was done at 12 something. Then I would go to the studio and stay all the way till the next day. Go take a shower, do the same thing over and over and over again.
So if I could just make a note here, notice that he said he did not get paid in the beginning, because a lot of people come into this industry thinking that they just gonna get paid off the bat, especially younger people. They're like, look, I'm coming in, I'm not working for free, but it's the grind. He had a job and he was working for free at the same time.
I ran out of gas one time running for because as an intern you have to, part of your duties are to get stuff for the clients, if they want a ginger ale or a taco, or I've been sent to the store for condoms, you know what I'm saying? Just crazy, whatever they need at the time you need to go get. So I was doing a whole bunch of runs. I ran out of gas one time.
Wow.
But
they give you gas money too?
No, I didn't get mileage. I didn't get mileage, and they started the mileage thing after I was an intern. I was kind of mad about it. I was like, yo, but
after you were an intern, after they hired you.
After they hired me, they started giving the interns mileage. I'm like,
oh wow, yeah.
But the manager at the time was like,
should have been like, can I go back?
Nah, the manager at the time was like, he was like, don't ever do that. He's like, just ask me for $10, man. He was like,
don't run out of gas.
Don't run out of gas.
Don't do that.
Not when you're going to get condoms.
Right. Gotta be on time with those. Oh man, no, that's great. Yeah, there were some things in there, a couple of things I didn't know or probably just forgot about. So, no, that's cool. I know I wanted to ask people to give them a little bit of background just about you, period. Like, where you from? I know we're brother and sister, but some people may have listened to other episodes. So,
I was born in Detroit, 7 Mile Road. Yeah.
7 Mile?
Yeah. So lived there until I was 9, and then we moved out here. I was 9, right? 8 and a half, 9.
So.
And moved out here to Vegas, and grew up here. Left when I was 17. Moved to Atlanta because my sister was there and she had everything already going. So moved there and worked for her at her restaurant out there. And she was in the music industry too. She worked for Universal, and it was in the marketing department, right?
Yeah, marketing.
So she had me going to all the studios and all that stuff back then because they would have album release parties. So she started bringing me around the industry out there and just started getting, just moving around and getting acquainted with people and building rapport with people. She worked at a record store too called Earwax. Earwax was really, that was like the hub because they did a lot of album releases. So I would go up there and try and be mixing with Ludacris and whoever I could. At the time, I would go in. I remember I'd be like, "I just help." I'd be behind the desk. Acting like I was staff, right? Because I just wanted to see what was going on and stuff.
And it was back in the day too. I just want to say, because this was a good time to be in Atlanta. Because Luda wasn't Luda. Luda was he was at Georgia State, Luda. Yeah. So, and it was, Outkast was just coming out, and Goody Mob, and all of these other artists, like Indie, all these independent artists. It was just a good time to be in Atlanta because it was just booming at that time. So we got to see a lot of the artists that are really big now. We got to work with them, and it was good. Yeah, it was really good to see that. And just to be able to, just what he said, just to be able to come into that industry and then have him come. And then my cousin Dallas came afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Dallas came afterwards.
So Dallas came to Atlanta after, and he went to Clark Atlanta, and now he went on to be senior VP over at Atlantic Records.
Yeah, shout out to cousin Dallas. And
Yeah.
he's the senior VP over at Atlantic right now. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
currently.
That's
He's
great.
doing his thing.
So yeah, he brings a lot of projects over to my studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
There you
It's a
go.
good family
Yeah.
man. Family.
Keep
Because
it
Dallas
in
keeps him, yeah, Dallas keeps him, you know,
Yeah.
money in his pocket. So, you know, it's cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so you're a rapper, and then how long were you just like focused on rapping?
And how old were you then?
I was maybe 20, maybe I was 20, 19, 20. No, I had been rapping a little bit before that, so probably like from 18 to 20 was when I was really like focused on the rap thing, and then it kind of switched. I realized like I didn't necessarily want to be the artist. I always teetered in between wanting to be the artist. I still pick up the pen every once in a while to get ideas out and stuff. Like I never stop the creative things. It's just a release sometimes. You know what I mean? But it's not my main thing, and it doesn't pay the bills. You know what I mean? I don't pay for anything with that really. But I mean I make a little money. But
Right.
Yeah. I say, did you ever consider like picking up the pen and writing something, selling that?
Yeah,
No,
yeah. No, I do that with. I don't do that. I don't go into it with that in my mind. I don't go into it thinking about money. But after I do something and I think it could work for somebody, then I start thinking of avenues and ways I can get it to wherever it needs to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into now, like the meat and potatoes, well, the tofu and potatoes. You know what people, tofu and potatoes, yeah. So we just want to get into like how. Well, let me ask this question: what do you think is one of the major reasons why people succeed in this business, in this industry, as an independent artist? And we're just going to say independent artist right now because most people listening, if they're trying to break into the industry, they're starting as an independent artist. Most of them are. And then we'll answer that first, and then we'll go into
The main reason is because it's perseverance. Perseverance. Because a lot of people they can't take rejection, and if you can't take rejection, don't even start. You don't even try it. Because sometimes you do blow up overnight. Sometimes that story does happen, but more than likely it's not going to happen. You're it's going to be a slow grind. And the person who keeps going and learns from their mistakes and kind of doesn't make the same mistake twice and learns how to, just gain momentum and ride the momentum and figuring out the right avenue. It's just a matter of just learning, you know what I mean? And the person who keeps learning and keeps making adjustments and is malleable is the person who makes it. It's not the person who just comes in and they play around with it. It's not gonna happen.
right. So you really got to grind.
You really have to grind. You have to be one to sleep in the studio. You have to be willing to sacrifice for the music.
So it truly needs to be a passion.
Truly needs to be a passion, because if you're playing around with it, it's not really.
And so when you say playing around with it too, what do you mean? What do you see as some of the major mistakes that people make when they come to you? You get a lot of artists that come to you, they're like, hey, put me on or whatever. So what do you think are the major mistakes that a lot of artists make trying to get into this industry?
Well, waiting and just pointing the finger at other people and waiting for other people to do stuff for you instead of getting up.
Yeah.
Like,
Every time I
getting up off your ass and just doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't look to the other person to, this person with the money said they were gonna do this and they didn't do it, so No, figure it out, man. It's about figuring it out. You have to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, and most people they play a blame game with everything, and they want to blame this person and blame that person, and they didn't promise me. They promised me something and didn't do it. Well, why did you just go and find another avenue?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And while you're complaining, you're just wasting time. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So what would you say would be the first step if someone is interested? What's the first thing that they
First step would be to figure out yourself and what you're going to be presenting to the world as entertainment, and figuring out what you're going to represent. So that's some soul searching that you have to do, and figure that out first, because that's going to be the base of your whole brand. So you don't want anything that feels foreign to you, that you're uncomfortable with, because you might blow up off of it and then you're trapped in these little boxes and you're famous with all this money and you're not yourself. Or you're so far from yourself that it's like.
So basically you have to figure out what makes you authentic. Like you have to be authentic.
Yeah, you have to be authentic or figure out what you're comfortable in representing, because I can tell you some people are an act. Some of this stuff is an act. But they're comfortable in that act that they put on all the time.
Gotcha.
It's not far from them already. So it's not a thing that where it's a stretch and they're feeling like all awkward and I have to put on this face today and blah blah blah. It becomes part of them because it was kind of a natural progression and they knew what they were gonna represent from off rip. Figure out what you are first. That's the base.
Okay.
And then from there, start making the music. Don't wait on the perfect. Just because you have janky equipment and your music sounds like trash right now, just try and always improve step by step. You know what I'm saying? Do whatever you have to do. I don't care if you have to intern at a janky little studio for a little bit just to get a little bit of studio time and do what you need to do to always level up to where you get to the point where you're in a major studio like Astro Studios in Atlanta where I work. Just grind it out and get the music recorded. Because if you don't have the product, what are we talking about?
Right.
So do you think that a person that's interested in kind of getting their foot in the door in the industry, once they do record, should be a professional recording before they go to the next step of trying to present that? Or if they're in your boy's basement with some equipment?
It depends on what it is, because I've heard some terrible sounding trap music become put on the charts, like make it to the charts. So
did they re-record it?
No, it was put out like that, and like people, y'all heard these records probably. I'm not gonna name them, but they sound horrible, and they did them like in somebody's room, and they became big records. So if you're doing, it depends on the genre, but if you're trying to do like jazz, don't be having it sound like
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you can't,
jazz.
yeah, don't. If you're singing, you don't have the luxury of that. Yeah, but if you like, if you sit rapping, and I don't know, man. Sometimes you get away. But I say it all to say, don't try and make it sound good all the time. You know what I mean? But
start.
Just start somewhere.
Yeah.
And then always try and level up. It doesn't matter. Some people take songs that they've done years ago and re-record them. Because they're like, okay, now that I have the means to get a better studio, let me get in and re-record the song that I actually believe in and see how it sounds, and if I can bring it to life on at a major studio with the right equipment and the right gear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what, we're going to ask what the next step was after that?
So
Next step would be I tell people to try to find some money to put behind it, like find it, like you don't necessarily need it, but it helps to
What
have.
do you put behind it? What do you mean by that?
To shoot videos,
Okay.
to get wardrobe for shows, to make sure you can travel a little bit and stuff. If you can, if you don't, I'm not saying that's not a requirement, but try and find some money to put behind your project because it does take money to really roll stuff out the right way. But other than that, if you don't have money to do that, just put it on these platforms like Spotify, Apple Music. You as an independent can put your music on these platforms yourself.
Okay.
You can. It's easy.
How would you suggest someone get money if they did want to take it a step further and do a
I find an
video?
investor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go to a bank and talk about I want to put out a mixtape. They don't. Security?
What if they wrote a really good business plan?
I
No.
don't think it'll work.
No. Security? Get them out of here.
The trap music business plan.
No.
Oh, you know what?
No, trap rappers don't need a business plan because they have trap money.
They have trap money, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so going back, for those who don't know what trap music is, what is trap
So
music?
just for those who are listening and didn't see, Leticia does not know what trap music is.
She pointed to herself.
Yeah, but it's okay. So we got.
They
I'm
just
not
out
alone.
here.
I know I'm not.
You're not
You're not
alone.
alone.
You're not.
You're not alone.
You're not. So
So-
it's okay.
Is Little John trap music?
No.
No.
Lil Jon was crunk music. And then
Oh.
that turned
Crunk or crunk?
crunk.
Crunk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that it was 808 based and it kind of sounded the same, but it's a different bounce and the content of the music trap music is mostly about hustling and street stuff and selling dope.
Drugs and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it
Oh, like what's his name? Oh, what is his name? Cliff.
Who up?
ATO. Cliff.
What's your name?
No. His real name's Clifford.
Oh, T.I.
T.I.
She said his real name's Clifford. Oh,
Wait a
over here,
minute,
she gonna
but
be like,
the fact
man.
that she knew his real name
Yeah.
and not T.I. I'm like, who's Clifford? I forgot his name was Clifford.
Yeah, Clifford.
Yeah.
T.I.
No, we don't call him T.I. from now on.
Yeah,
Clifford.
T.I. I know him.
Sid was he was one of the
That's trap music.
yeah, he was one of the impresarios of trap music.
Okay.
Gucci, Jeezy, they were after crunk and they brought
Jeezy.
they brought the street element to it and street motivation. You know, it's all about a hustle. It's not really necessarily only about dope. That's where the term comes from, but it's not only about that. But yeah, a lot of rappers that do trap music, they got their own funds too.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm about investors.
Yeah, they don't have to find
So
their
if you're not
investors.
doing trap music and say you do find an investor or you don't, and you kind of get a job and kind of save your money so that you can kind of move forward, what's the next step? Like, how do they get to someone like yourself?
I mean, they would meet me when they book the studio. Probably they would have to call me.
So they would just book a studio. So if I have a little bit of
You have a little bit of money.
Uh-huh.
You just call during regular business hours. If I don't have a rapport with you already, please don't call me at 12 trying to get in. I don't know you. But
Hold
yeah.
on really quick. I don't mean to interrupt, but for those that don't know, why are we calling you? What part do you play in all of this?
I book the studio time for people, major label and independent.
Okay.
So
And you're also the
engineer.
Yeah.
And
So-
What is the
and so to
engineer?
give us your full scope of what you do
So
at the
I
Yeah.
have a handful of clients that I engineer for, like independent clients, and sometimes I pop in on major label stuff. But so I do some engineering, but I manage the studio.
And what's the name of the studio?
It's called Astro Studio.
Astro Studios in Atlanta.
Yeah, West
It's
Midtown in
still
Atlanta.
next to Stankonia?
Yeah, right next door to Stankonia.
Yeah.
We were called Zach previously, Zach Recording, and then we got new ownership last year, and we switched over to being Astro, and everything's
Okay.
alive and well.
so call you doing regular business hours.
Yes,
Call me doing
Time.
regular business hours.
9 to
And
5?
yeah. You can call me a little bit later than that, but just not at like 11, 12. at night.
Well, you're usually working by then. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
too.
yeah.
He's working like that's when.
But I just don't want to meet new. If you call me trying to do it during that time, I know you're probably not serious either, or you're trying to just get in right then, and I don't want to meet strangers at that time.
Right. Right.
So call me during regular business hours. I'll give you the rates. At a regular, some studios do mastering. Don't call asking for mixing and mastering, because a lot of studios aren't mastering studios. That's a whole nother process. It irks my nerves when people say mix and master because they don't know what to talk about. Mastering is a whole nother process.
Okay.
We record the music and we can mix your music. We have to if you do it professionally, you send it off to a mastering engineer, and they do it at a mastering studio.
So for those who don't know, I can see you're about to ask the question. Explain what do you mean by mixing and then mastering?
So you book this time, you would come in, if you would bring a beat, or maybe you're a producer that's making beats, you make the beat, and the artist will come in and they'll record the song. The engineer is responsible for capturing the vocals and making it sound pristine and presentable.
On top of the beat?
Yeah, on top of the beat, and like mixing it in with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
When the artist is recording, can they hear the beat in their headphones?
Yes, they always get playback in the headphones. Our interns are always supposed to check before to make sure they have adequate sound and stuff in their headphones. So a lot of people aren't used to hearing themselves the right way. So sometimes people come in. That's another thing. Don't freak out when you first get in the studio, and because you're under time constraint and you're nervous being around people who really do this. Don't get nervous. Just relax. We've seen it a million times. You know what I mean? Just come in and relax and have fun.
Oh, let me ask you this too. So what do you recommend before booking studio time? Don't you recommend that there be some kind of preparation done so that you're not wasting time?
If you're independent that has limited funds, definitely get your songs together before you come in, or pre-record them at the house just so you can listen to them so you know how you want it to go. Come in and do it again just to knock it out so you can get the most done in the smallest amount of time. Because if you come in trying to write in the studio and you don't have that much money, you're gonna run out of time.
So
That's
you
when they
book
start
the
paying.
studio by the hour? Or?
Yeah, by the hour, or we have day rates where we,
What is the price point? Like, if someone is now, like, maybe they're setting up a trap budget.
And
Stop it, I'm just saying that. And they're like, okay, gotta go to that engineer, like, how much should they put?
So we have
their
a
budget
lot
for
of
that?
we have rates, that range in between anywhere from 75 an hour, and they go all the way up. That's with the engineer, and
That's not bad.
it can get up to the 140, 180 range.
So what's
per
the
each room.
difference?
Yeah, per hour.
So you get that 1 hour, so you better make that 1 hour.
No, we don't. I don't book 1 hour sessions.
You don't.
It's gonna take longer than an hour.
Yeah, it's gonna take longer than an hour, and I don't really want to call an engineer from the other side of town to come in
For an hour.
1 hour of work.
Okay.
So I want to do at least 3 hours minimum.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then on the flip side, now you manage the recording studio, but then you also have a separate business where you have your own independent clients. So tell us a little bit about that, how you got into that. Yeah.
So I was there basically. I would get people that would bring me independent clients, and they would just tell me to work with them because it's kind of just a referral thing, you know what I mean? And I took on a handful of clients. I didn't want to take clients away from my staff engineers because I want everybody to get money. So most of the stuff I pass off to my engineers, but there's a handful of people's stuff that I actually handle myself engineering wise. I keep their hard drives. I have my clients' hard drives. I keep them. I see the projects from the mixtapes or albums from front to back. Like I record everything and then I send it off. I either mix it or I send it off to one of my friends who's mixing engineers, and they get it sounding good. We get it mastered, and then they put it out. They shoot videos, put it out.
And what's the mastering process?
The mastering process, I really am not well versed in the mastering process because that's not part of my thing. But basically, to break down mastering, they would mold. When you're done at the studio and your music sounds good, everything, you want it to be at the same level that other master music is at. Because sometimes it sounds lower. And so they raise the level of the music, so when you play it in the club, it's like playing at the same level as everything else. And they sculpt a lot of the sound, like the low end, and they carve a lot of stuff to make like little tweaks that finish it off. It's basically the polish on it at the end. I'm not well versed in mastering. I know bad mastering and good mastering. I know when I hear it. Yeah.
But I think you did a good job in explaining.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. So, you talked about persistence earlier as far as like someone who's an independent artist, and so you were kind of going in that route of becoming an independent artist, correct?
Yeah.
And then, so what changed? Well, what made it, you stayed in the industry, but what kind of changed from becoming the rapper to like owning, to the other side of things?
It was just not really, I don't think I really wanted to be a rapper. It was just fun. It was just a fun thing. And like I said before, if you're going to play with it, you should kind of just leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? If you're not gonna really do it as like eat, sleep, shit, you know what I'm saying, rap, then don't really mess with it. Like kind of leave it alone because I wasn't fully invested in it. I had a lot of stuff that I could do within the industry, and kind of when I got my internship, it kind of pushed me more because it was an engineering internship. So it kind of took me away from rapping. I was still doing it here and there, and I had some meetings with labels and stuff. But a few people were interested in signing me and stuff, but it just never fully manifested because I wasn't going hard enough at just that. I was always working a lot in music, but I just wasn't going hard specifically at that.
So I gotta say something. It was funny. Well, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say, do you feel like engineering and what you're doing now truly is more of your passion, that you would eat shit, you know, all that? You know?
Yeah, well, lately I love being on the creative side of things, so I like being in the studio and being around the creation of the music. So yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stuff that I'm still trying to figure. The story's not done, right? So I'm thinking about more so getting into management now with
Like managing artists.
Artists,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I've been kind of toying with that. I help beyond engineering. I help people a lot of the times, you know, making calls and setting them up with stuff anyway. So I'm like, you know, that could be a thing, you know what I mean, that I want to explore. But I wouldn't say I'm more passionate about running studio. It's kind of where it led me, and then it became like a part of my journey. You know what I mean? Right now, I wouldn't say it was one was more, one was less.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say too, we were going back to the rapping thing, and I remember one time I was talking to Dallas,
Yeah.
and that was when you decided you didn't want to
Yeah.
rap, and he was so mad.
Yeah.
And he called me a few times actually,
Yeah.
like, yo, you need to talk to Billy, like, I got him a meeting with L.A. Reid, I think he said.
Yeah.
He had like gotten him some like major connection, and Billy was like, nope, I don't want to rap. Yeah. And Dallas was like,
Well, that's good. It's good
yeah.
that you know what you
You
want.
know what you want.
Yeah.
And that whole,
It was a little bit of just like I've never been around major label artists that much before in my life. So when I got around it, I'm like, do I really want to
to do this, right?
do this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
like
artists is a different kind of.
man.
Yeah, you can't. It's, you know, there's no privacy. There's like a lot of different things that go into being an artist that, you know.
You have to have a
behind
certain
the scenes.
personality type, I think, to be an artist. And you have to I think a lot of times, like when I see somebody and I think they're like a star, like a superstar, they want to be a superstar. I didn't really have a desire to be a superstar. I probably would have been more like a mysterious artist or something, like somebody that you didn't see a lot and stuff like that, because I don't really have a desire to be famous like that. Like but some people have that personality type and I love it. I love seeing it, but it's just
Not you.
no, it's not really me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So tell us some. Go ahead. Do you have a question? You have a question? So tell us some of the other the artists, because you've worked with artists that some of our listeners have heard of before. So tell us like some of the people that you've worked with, and like you've gotten credit on some albums too.
Yeah,
Tell us
I
a little bit about that.
I got credits on, let's see.
Credits for
like,
engineering.
assistant engineering. Some of those assistant engineering sessions were just because I set the session up, but some of them I did actually assist on. And like Wale, Meek Mill. I worked with Free Meek Mill. I recently worked with like Davies. What else? I did some stuff with Metro Boomin. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good roster.
Yeah.
Okay, good roster. Cool.
Is Meek
So-
Mill not free?
No, Meek Mill is very much locked up.
He's locked up, yeah. So
He's locked up. They won't let him.
yeah, that's it.
Akon.
You got it.
Yeah.
Hey, you got it.
You know, I used to work for a hip hop radio station,
I
right?
know.
For 5 years. Never since
Wait,
I
wait.
left, I have no idea what's going on.
That was a connection. It
What's
was
that?
so
You were at
separate.
Hot 97.
Yeah, about 97.
Oh, nice,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah. She's on air. I was, and but ever since then.
So whatever music was playing during
Yeah,
that
I
time.
was on it.
That's why she was saying I'm locked up. 'Cause that
That was definitely on. Is that right?
Oh man. All right, cool. So I think I know I've asked a lot of questions, but I know I want the listeners, I just really want the listeners to be able to, especially those who are trying to get into this industry, I really want them to walk away with some clear steps on what they should do. And so Makini asked some good questions to just kind of walk people through the process. But is there anything like in closing that you want to say, like what do you think is the most important thing that people need to do or not do, or is there something that you could say?
It was both of those actually.
Yes.
The most important thing they should
Well,
do.
you know what? Let's not even get. What are some things that people do that you like just don't do this because you see it so often?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Dang.
Where does he begin?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Like I've seen so many people do dumb
Just name
stuff.
anything. Like you give us a couple of stories. You know, people.
I've seen a meeting set up and the person come in not knowing that that was the person from the label and did something really inappropriate walking in the room.
So wait, explain. So
Like
meeting
what?
was set up.
Like a meeting was set up for the artist. The artist walks in, doesn't know that the person's in the room,
Uh-huh.
and did something really inappropriate, like greeting wise to the person,
Oh.
and it just ruined the whole thing.
So always have your best foot forward.
Have your
Yes.
best foot forward, especially if you don't know where the person's coming from. You know, that they're just in the room. Don't you? One of the most important things in the music industry is building a rapport with people and keeping your face clean.
Mhm.
Because your face card is everything. One person vouches for you and you're good.
Yeah.
This
Because
is
it's a
very
small
true.
circle of people and they talk. So you have to keep your face clean. Don't come in doing foolish stuff, talking outside your mouth all the time, or talking about people all the time and, you know, all that, because it gets back around.
And
And
that's
once
true
people
with
see
all
you talking about other people, they're
Right.
like, this is what happens a lot. People hear you talking about, talking crazy about somebody, and they're like, yeah. They'll like kind of agree with you or whatever, and then they'll be like, yo, if he's talking crazy about them,
Right.
I don't want to deal with him because I know he might say something about me. So keep your face clean. Try and speak well about people. If you don't have, if they did something wrong to you, just let it go.
That's a part of the four
Business.
agreements. Be impeccable with your word. That's one of the
Exactly.
four agreements. Don
Yeah.
Miguel Ruiz. For those who haven't read that, that's an amazing book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would read that before going into the music industry.
Just try to always keep your word. Don't overpromise anything to anybody. You know, under promise, over deliver. You know, yeah.
Okay. And grind.
Grind, definitely grind. Be down for the grind. You know, the people who are working behind the scenes you're the leader as the artist, and you're the driving force, and you know, behind the whole thing. So you have to kind of have some leadership skills too, to you know, your team is gonna follow you, and they're gonna they're gonna match your energy, and they're gonna match your game plan. They're gonna step up to your game plan if you have a good team. So you want to be clear about that with them and really put your best foot forward with your team, so they'll fall into place and they'll have a clear vision of what they're supposed to be doing in the pace that they're supposed to be moving at. The artist has to understand they're the driving force. You know what I mean? It's like with me, when I was like kind of teetering on being an artist, I was making one song every month, and my cousin was like, "Yeah, that's not enough. Like, I'm going to these meetings, I'm playing the same records. You know what I'm saying? I might play one new thing, and they're like, so where's the rest of it?" I'm like, you know, so you have to really be pumping music out too, like really always on it, always on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like it really needs to be your passion.
Yeah, it really does need to be your passion. That's why I say you can't play with it. You
Yeah,
have to-
right.
Like, a lot of people play with it, and that's cool if you're not taking it serious and it's a hobby. Cool, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have some people that come in, they spend big money with me just to have fun. They're like, man, I just always wanted to do this, and I have all this money, so I'm gonna come in and play around. It's cool. Come on. You know what I'm saying? But don't be getting mad when it doesn't turn into the biggest thing in the world and start, you know, whatever, you know.
Okay. Got that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope that helped everyone. I hope that people learn. Like, that's the biggest thing about this platform, is that we want to inform people about just different industries, different entrepreneurial work things that you can do and things not to do. And anyway, I was late. I'm sleepy. I'm talking out the side of my head. But anyway, I hope everybody who tuned in learned something. And I know I did, actually. And I know Leticia did.
Yes.
Because you know, we're trap
No,
music
we're
is.
Well, you know, I wanted to also throw in another point, because I kind of followed your journey as far as how much you told us, and that, you know, sometimes you think you know what you want to do, you know, whether it was be a rapper, and then you stay in that industry and kind of realize the other avenues that are within that
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes you're like, maybe it wasn't a rapper. Maybe my journey really was engineer or studio or managing the artist, because you realize like I'm more behind the scenes. I'm not really the artist.
Right.
But now you kind of know what it was like to write, and you know what it's like to get that creative spark. Like I need to get that down, so that when you're connecting with the artist in any way, you know, they can be like, oh yeah, he knows what's up. Like he knows where I'm coming from. So that bond is there. That respect is there. And so I think that's a huge thing too. And you know, just for anyone that's listening that's not thinking about being in music, I think that's a lesson learned in anything that you're doing or think you want to do. Like keep going with it, because maybe rapper is not your thing, but managing the artist will be.
That's right. That's the first thing you
because
said.
your grind was on. I mean, going to there and sleeping, not getting paid, like you wanted to there, you wanted to be there for some reason.
Yeah, exactly, for some reason.
So,
but then I picked up a lot of skills along the way, so now if I do manage an artist, I can see their album from front. I can see it from you know, to fruition, and do it streamlined, because I know engineering lingo and jargon, so I can properly communicate with the engineer without confusing them. You know what I mean? I can, you know, I've been around a lot of meetings and stuff in the studio, so I know, and I've been in emails with labels now, so I know how to talk to the labels. You know, I picked up a lot of different skills along the way, so it kind of just, you know, it all, just learn, just hop into stuff and learn.
Yeah. That's what it is. All right.
Perfect.
So with that being said, we are going to sign off. Again, don't forget to follow us on our social media at Simply Put Radio on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And Bills, if you can tell us where it can meet you, like or where they can reach you. What's your Instagram handle? What's the best way to reach you if you have information for the studio?
Yeah, Instagram is at Big Bills. The studio is called Astro Studios. It's in West Midtown in Atlanta. You can Google us. Or go to astroatl.com. Yep, I'm not gonna give out my email, but
No. That's good enough. You got the Instagram, so
All
you
right.
know everybody's on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, then we will see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in, and peace.
Peace.
Trap music.
Trap music.